Wonder Woman 1984 was once again directed by Patty Jenkins, and it was also co-written by her this time around. She hasn't had a writing credit since 2003's excellent film Monster. So it was cool to see her take on a lot more control this time, and I was very curious to see how that would go. Gal Gadot returns once again as Diana Prince, and this time around Pedro Pascal plays Maxwell Lord, an oil baron who's losing all of his money and resources. And when he comes across the ability to grant a bunch of wishes, he begins to endanger the world. Meanwhile, Kristen Wiig plays Barbara Minerva, a shy timid woman who wishes to not be shy or timid. And Chris Pine is back as Steve Trevor, even though he died in the last movie. And this film takes place many decades later, so something weird is clearly going on. I love the first film by Patty Jenkins. I think she brought a lot of heart, a lot of energy to that movie. It was action-packed. It was absolutely thrilling. It surprised me so much because I didn't know if a Wonder Woman movie was going to work. And she really knocked it out of the park. I couldn't wait to see what she would do with the sequel, and I fully 100% trusted her. I actually got a screener link for this movie like 4 days ago, and I watched it then. I could have reviewed it before Christmas, before it dropped on HBO Max. And I just didn't want to, because I realized that I had so much I wanted to talk about. And all of them involved spoilers. And I didn't want to make another surface level review where I try to dance around subjects that I really want to discuss. Because I have unfortunately quite a bit of issues with Wonder Woman 1984. I found this movie to be a massive letdown and extremely disappointing. Even though there are certainly good things in the film. And it's not by any means a disaster of a terrible movie, but I just didn't like it, and it pains me to say that. I really wanted to love this movie. But I thought it was pretty bad. Since it has dropped on HBO Max yesterday on Christmas Day. And since anyone with an HBO Max account has access to this movie, I am going to talk about spoilers. So if you don't want to know about spoilers, I've already expressed my disappointment in the film. If you still want to see the movie, and you can come back and watch the rest of this review. For all of those who have seen the movie, let's talk about why this film didn't work for me. The film opens with what is my favorite sequence in the entire film, where you see a young Diana in Themyscira training in an Olympic Games of sorts. Hans Zimmer's music is easily one of the highlights of the whole movie. Especially during this sequence, it's one of the few things that I think is actually an improvement on the first film. In this sequence, Diana takes a shortcut. She discovers that if she slides down this dirt pit that she can get ahead of all the other competitors. And when she's at the finish line, Robin Wright stops her and says, "You cheated, you took a shortcut?" That's not allowed, and Diana's naturally she's very upset about this. I kept expecting that theme to come back into play throughout the movie. That there would be a reason for this opening beyond just introducing the Golden Warrior that becomes armor that she wears near the end of the film. But that theme that's introduced there, that Diana might cheat or take a shortcut to get to something she wants, is only briefly explored in her wish on the Dreamstone to bring Steve Trevor back to life. That in a way she's trying to cheat death or take a shortcut to having love again. And that it's just not going to work out. And that it's not fair. That's the best connection that I can make between the opening scene and the rest of the movie, and even that feels kinda flimsy. It doesn't really feel that earned. And I feel like I'm reaching to establish that connection. But that sequence was very thrilling, and we're immediately thrown into 1984. And we see Wonder Woman stop a heist at a mall. And this felt very Richard Donner, very Sam Raimi-esque. Extremely light, very fun and welcoming. I loved how the little girl was so impressed with Wonder Woman. And I just was like, this is gonna be fucking great. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna feel like a movie that doesn't just take place in the 80s, but was actually made in the 80s with updated technology. The first 20 minutes of this movie had a really good time, right around the time where they introduced Kristen Wiig's character. And this is not meant to be a bash at her. It's more so the script. The film just kind of halts. The pacing starts to drag considerably, and we're introduced to a character that's very much like Jim Carrey's The Riddler in Batman Forever, or Jamie Foxx's Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2. A bumbling, neglected employee of a company that doesn't yet realize how smart and essential they are. They bump into people they have no confidence, but something along the way is going to give them confidence. And it might just be supervillainy. I found this to be an extreme cliché and trope of some of the more cheesy superhero films we've gotten in the past, and I didn't like it. It wasn't like, oh, they're doing that. It was like, wow, they're doing that. But when this Dreamstone is introduced, and Pedro Pascal wants it and Diana wants it and everybody makes a wish on it, it became clear to me that the film's narrative was going to be surrounding this object. And that pretty much anything that could happen would happen, which is basically how things go. Which is one of the laziest ways to tell a story. You have a device that just grants anything. It's not like a genie that gives you 3 wishes. It's like a rock that anyone gets to wish on, and it's so convoluted and so messy that things build to a point of utter chaos, which obviously was the point. Be careful what you wish for is a theme that has been explored for a very long time. And this is no different, because all the characters want something, and for each and every one of them it goes in a negative path. And that was obvious from the start. So Barbara wishes to be like Diana. She doesn't realize that's going to give her a lot of powers and abilities. Diana wishes to have Steve Trevor back. And Maxwell Lord wishes to become the Dreamstone, and the thing evaporates, and now anyone who touches him can make a wish through him. So he tries to go around the world to people of power and politics and business, and create this empire for himself in which he has control over the populace, even though his young son just wants to hang out with him. So his son gets thrown to the side, and he's also deteriorating. His health is deteriorating his body, so they discover that you can get your wish granted, but it takes something away from you. So let's talk about Steve Trevor, because this is easily one of the strangest storylines in the film. He's brought back because Diana made this wish. But he's not brought back in his own body, he's brought back in the body of a random man who lives near Diana. He just approaches her at a party and she's like, I don't have any idea who you are, why are you talking to me, you fucking creep? And he's like, no, it's me, Steve. Then he magically turns into Chris Pine, and I was so fucking confused. I felt nothing, there was no emotional connection, I had so many questions. Later on you realize that the film is simply showing us Chris Pine like for our benefit. Even though to everyone else including Diana he looks like someone credited as handsome man, this actor is commonly seen in a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies. Which is probably why there's a cheesy Hallmark Christmas ending with him. And that's beautiful, I guess. If you're a Hallmark Christmas movie fan, nothing against you. But I certainly haven't seen any of them. I just thought that that was a funny comparison and I wanted to bring it up in this review of Wonder Woman 1984 on YouTube.com. So throughout the whole movie, whenever Diana and Steve were doing things including sleeping together, I couldn't help but think this random guy has just been plucked out of his life. Does he have family? Does he have kids? Does he have a significant other? Like, is he losing his job right now? Is he about to get fired because he hasn't showed up to work in like a week? What's going on with this guy that's just been snatched out of existence and made into Steve Trevor? That was so strange to me and I could not stop thinking about it. And even weirder is that the things that Maxwell Lord wishes for are insane. Walls appear out of nowhere, nuclear weapons are fired, people are killed by heart attacks instantly. Why can't Steve Trevor just come back as Steve Trevor? Why does he have to be put into a random guy? That just makes no fucking sense, man. Now I love me some horror films, but they really went ahead and had an expert come in for a scene, explain the backstory, and then he was like, bye, I'm done, I've served my purpose. The other thing about the film that was strange to me is the action, or should I say lack of action. 100 minutes into the movie I paused it, and I realized that there had been 2 scenes with Wonder Woman like in her outfit fighting crime, kicking ass. 2 scenes in 100 minutes. There's nothing in this film as thrilling as the training sequence in the first film, or the no man's land scene, nor that incredible siege on that village with the sniper. Nothing in the film ever reaches those thrilling heights. There's the mall sequence early on where she foils a robbery, which half of that has been officially released online as a clip. And then there's a pretty cool chase scene involving a bunch of trucks on a road, and Wonder Woman is just fucking throwing those things everywhere, and that's really exciting, but for the most part, the pacing in the film is awful. Now, one of the things that Diana loses because of her wish being granted is some of her abilities. So bullets start to have an effect on her. She feels weaker in battle, she can't do the things that she normally can do. It's not like her powers are completely gone, though they're kind of like at half or something. She can still kick a truck in the air and use her lasso of truth, which never really makes anyone tell the truth. In this movie it's sort of just used for other things throughout the whole film, and it kind of just became like a magical do-everything rope. But I was thinking about Superman 2, and that film Clark gives up his powers so that he can be with Lois. And I was thinking about Spider-Man 2, and that film Peter starts to lose his abilities because he's just too stressed in life and he's not doing what he wants to do, he's not with the woman he loves. His powers are leaving him because he doesn't feel like Spider-Man. So even though this film exploring those themes felt familiar, I understood the end goal, that the goal is the scene where they get their powers back, and it's really exciting, like that scene in Superman 2 where he kicks the guy's ass at the bar who is being a dick, or in Spider-Man 2 where he goes to face Doc Ock, leading to one of the best fucking action scenes ever in a comic book movie. And this film has a similar moment where Wonder Woman figures out how to fly after finally giving up, and Steve like relinquishes the fact that he's there, and she says, "I revoke my wish," or whatever, and now she can fly, so that's cool, she learned how to fly and it's inspiring and stuff. But like I didn't feel anything. I felt nothing because the narrative didn't make sense. There's so many wishes constantly happening throughout the movie, it's like in Dragon Ball Z, like if they can summon Shenron every 5 minutes or something. And nothing builds to anything that really makes sense. Meanwhile Kristen Wiig is turning into a fucking cat. So Barbara's arc is accentuated by the fact that at one point she could not walk in heels, and now she can walk in heels, so that's visual storytelling, I guess. She can walk in heels now, so she is Cheetah boy. So let's talk about Cheetah for a second. Her first close-up is hilarious. I actually went "oh my god" like to my friend. It was distressing. Is she a jiggly cat though? That's what I want to know. This fight was atrocious, it was ugly looking, it was made to look low light, I'm assuming to mask the git to make it look a little more realistic, but it looked very bad, and you could tell that Cheetah was put in this film so Wonder Woman could have a physical fight with something, because she's not gonna fight Maxwell Lord unless he manifests fucking robot arms or something stupid. And so like the finale with him was all emotional, she lassoed his leg and was able to reach out to the populace and tell all of these people that had begun to make wishes through Maxwell, because he finds out that using the particles that are coming out of these goddamn TVS will touch people touching him, and then they can ask for anything they want. So she pulls a Mr. Satan at the end of Dragon Ball Z, convincing the entire populace to give Goku spirit energy, and that keeps everybody from doing the unthinkable. Somehow everyone, I guess, revoked their wish, and there were like nuclear weapons in the air, like every fucking country was about to nuke each other. And you see the politicians and the people who are working at the military bases who are like freaking the fucking out. And then all of the missiles disappear as the people revoke their wishes. And all the bad stuff goes away, and then you see, and this was very concerning to me plot-wise, you see these politicians, they actually say like, the nuclear missiles are disappearing. We have missiles disappearing, sir. Yesterday are vanishing from our screen, indicating that their memories aren't wiped of these events. It's not like relinquishing the wish took away the physical wish, it did not take away everyone's memory of the event. Meaning that does everyone in 1984 remember that weird day where $10 million manifested in people's living rooms and nuclear warheads were in the sky? And Russia was about to nuke America, and America was about to nuke Russia, and does everyone just fucking remember this? Because it seems like that's like a major thing that might have happened. Now I'm willing to buy what occurs at the end of Superman, because his ability to interfere with human history is established early on as a rule he cannot break, and because the memories of those involved are wiped, and because it was 1978. So Maxwell is now running on the streets looking for his son, who he magically finds coming out of the trees, and they can have like a movie moment where they hug. And it's heartwarming, and the film isn't exactly concrete on whether or not Maxwell suffers any consequences for nearly destroying the entire planet. Despite Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal being excellent actors, their characters are very reminiscent of what you might have seen in a Batman Forever or an Amazing Spider-Man 2. It just feels so over the top and hammy and unearned. It doesn't feel lovingly hammy, it feels accidentally cheesy, you know what I mean, and the Film's pacing is just bad. It's a boring movie for a good chunk of the second act. If Diana wasn't Wonder Woman for all that time, but the film was compelling and the narrative was interesting, that would be completely different. It's why I love watching Spider-Man 2. Even though he's not Spider-Man for a large chunk of the second act, or look at a film like Dark Knight Rises. He's not Batman that much in that movie, but it had compelling things in it. It was investing as a narrative. A movie like this needs to have more than just a magic rock that disappears inside an oil tycoon guy. Fucking also, the after credit scene introduces Linda Carter as Asteria, I guess, and she looks into the lens and breaks the fourth wall. I can't remember if she winked, but she looks right at us and says, like, I've been doing this for a long time, or something along those lines. And I smiled. I used to watch the Wonder Woman show when I was a kid, but I just couldn't help but think about like what this would have been in like a Hulk movie. Like, remember the first Incredible Hulk when Lou Ferrigno and Stan Lee walked by, and I was like, oh fucking, there's Lou Ferrigno and Stan Lee. But they were just like in the background, they just kind of like walked by. Like, imagine if the end credits scene of the Incredible Hulk was like Lou Ferrigno saves somebody's life by like lifting up a car, and then looks at the screen and goes, I've been doing this for a long time. Like that. That was a bad idea. Look, I get that some will enjoy this movie. I really wanted to be one of those people, but I just don't think it's good. I think that if you like this movie, I really am happy for you, but I think it could have been a lot better, and I'm still very excited to see what Patty Jenkins does. I think she's a phenomenal filmmaker. She's so talented. She's such an excellent director. But the script for this movie really needed a lot more work. I'm going to give Wonder Woman 1984 a C-.